What's a movie that you wish more people discussed? Yep, it's time for another batch of fan-suggested films. As usual, everyone tossed in their picks on the wheel, Patreon members got better odds, and today I've got 5 movies that I was forced to watch and review. And oh boy, did I get burned this time. It finally happened. Fred the movie, recommended by Jamie, got chosen. No! 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 Why? Okay, everyone says it's abysmal. The trailer is so bad you wonder what kind of wiener would direct it. But I've seen some real stinkers in my life, so not much movie-wise can traumatize me at this point. Maybe it'll be a so bad it's good kind of flick. You never know.
I don't think I know anything about women.
Are you guys gonna do Don't mess with my son!
She's gone! Somebody call 911!
One out of 10, I want my time back. Next up is Errementari, recommended by Mike Belcourt. Okay, I gotta get something off my chest. Why can't any movie or show portray child bullies well? The actors are either terrible or given terrible direction. The dialogue is clunky, and I can never take it seriously.
Sorry. I hope Mr. Fibley's okay.
And once again, it's a problem here. The child actress is doing a good job, but then the two bullies show up and suddenly becomes a school play. Bullies on film have a worse good to bad ratio than the flat earther trying to zip up their fly without getting their dick caught. Does this bother anyone else? Because I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. For a movie that at first looks polished and high budget, there are a lot of technical hiccups. Someone throws a rifle at someone and it's got all the speed and weight of a paper plane. One of the bullies gets grabbed by a blacksmith and the way it's cut is comically stupid. The sound design is some of the worst I've ever heard. The slaps are like Bruce Lee movies. Whoosh. There's an anvil hit sound that I swear is a stock sound I've seen in YouTube videos, and Errementari keeps using it. Someone cuts a metal chain in half with one swing of an axe, and the axe is so skinny that its axe parents get calls from social services. Also, I didn't realize that the investigator was a time traveler, because he managed to swing by a party city to get those fake-ass mutton chops. And you're probably thinking, here we go, the nitpicky YouTuber who can't enjoy anything, but honestly, it takes a lot for me to even notice things like bad sound design. Small problems aren't problems until they start adding up. My favorite aspect of the film is in the art department. Sets, costumes, and props. For a story about a blacksmith, it's logical that a lot of metalwork is involved. The blacksmith's lair is fantastic. We see a gate full of spikes, a mask, shields, bear traps, cages, and everything looks like real, handcrafted metal. It's a mood setter. The devil having 2 distinct voices is an intelligent way to capture how he operates. Gleeful, then threatening, and back again. So despite some impressive work on display, I wasn't a big fan of this one. The technical issues keep mounting, the acting is inconsistent, the music may as well have been lifted from 100 other movies, and I found myself uninvested by the halfway point, and by the third act, I was pretty checked out. It's been a while since I've seen a movie flourish so much in one aspect and fail so hard in others. It's a stark reminder that film is a collaborative venture. I don't know, 4 out of 10? Next is Before Midnight, the third in the Before trilogy, recommended by Alika Kelly. First off, pacing issues. As opposed to the first 2 films, Before Midnight spends a large amount of time at a lunch with 6 other characters in addition to the main couple. The dialogue is natural, and the scene gives us a window into the tension bubbling at the surface with our couple. However, it simply takes too long. We spend so much time at this lunch when ultimately it barely impacts the story. It's especially frustrating because an extended car ride before this scene is great and serves as a nice catch-up with our characters. Come on, Midnight, you play fast and loose with the word plot, and this is just dicking around. I got Before Sunset vibes from this, in that the first 2 acts weren't quite working for me, but the 3rd act soared. This movie has the most realistic couples argument I think I've ever seen on film. Their personal attacks, the way they both divert the topic to something else, and how it escalates to where by the end they've both hurt each other and neither remember what even started the fight. I will say that it felt a little unbalanced, at least to me. Julie Delpy's character came off much worse, to the point where I was starting to hate her a little. Ethan Hawke's character is clumsy and a bit stupid, but she was both trying to hurt him and kept tying everything back to oppression where it wasn't relevant. I wouldn't say this is a flaw in the writing, it's on brand for both of them, and the performances are sublime. I do think the ending is a bit of a cop-out, but how else could it have ended? We could argue that point all day, but the fact is the first 2 films felt like an ending, whereas this felt like a brief, unsatisfying pause. And that's the point, people may say. And my retort is, that's why I didn't like Boyhood. Life equals unsatisfying is a shit excuse for a mediocre ending. This is like when a restaurant takes too long bringing out the entree, so you fill up on bread. So the finale is undercooked, but man, does Before Midnight make a perfect case for dialogue being both intelligent and natural. You don't have to pick one. Ranking-wise, this is my least favorite in the trilogy, but there's still exceptional stuff here. The chemistry between the leads is still jaw-droppingly effortless, and the acting and dialogue is as good as ever when it's just the pair of them. A somewhat middling but worthwhile finale to the trilogy. Is it the best trilogy ever? I might still give that to Lord of the Rings, only because Pixar decided to be greedy. But it's a solid trilogy nonetheless. 7 out of 10.
I know you better than I know anybody else on the planet, but maybe that's not
right
saying
now?
much. What?
This is great.
Right.
You know, I feel close to you.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't know. I feel like you're breathing helium and I'm breathing oxygen.
What makes you say that?
See? I'm
Well,
trying
come
to
on, I'm
truly
just being
connect and you make a joke. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Come on. If we're ever gonna truly know one another, I mean, I think we probably have to get to know ourselves better first.
Next is the sci-fi action film Surrogates, recommended by Misty and Company. It takes place in the future where people regularly inhabit surrogates, or robotic versions of themselves, that aren't just stronger but are customized to look and sound how they want. I like how overly pristine the surrogates are. It seems as if the lead actors were airbrushed in post. The characters are attractive but glossy, even unnatural. It reeks of people living through beauty magazines, trying to look how they think they're supposed to look. The performances are strange, but that could have been intentional. These are machines being operated by people who likely look much different. But I also think this leads to a gargantuan missed opportunity. The film could have explored the disparity between how you expect someone of a certain height, look, and even race to act, and how they act with a different person operating them. Maybe the tough bodyguard is overcompensating while a more insecure type is in charge. Maybe someone acts very comfortable in this body, but then an event or a comment triggers them to regress. It could have invited the audience to try to guess who's behind the mask. It could have been cool. There's a foot chase in this film that should be watched by directors and editors to learn what not to do. There's too many pauses for characters to glance at each other and it kills the pace. The environment doesn't provide a lot of landmarks to orient us. The sequence does a bad job clarifying where everyone is in relation to each other, and it feels like there are chunks missing. Bruce Willis gets hit by a truck, seemingly on purpose, then there's an awkward pause, and then it just cuts to him running somewhere else. The protagonist is kind of an idiot, and his investigation is more like the Wicker Man remake, just kind of blundering around like a drunk. The music is practically unnoticeable. But I don't hate the film. A particular murder towards the end feels very personal, like Emperor Palpatine getting cut off in traffic. A sequence where a crowd of surrogates are turned off looks awesome. There are snippets of world building that spark interest. I was engaged for most of the film, don't get me wrong. I think there's much you can do with the concept, but the film only dips its toes in, and for the most part resembles a typical action film like I, Robot or Die Hard 4. I do think this is a bit better than those films, but Surrogates is crying out for a better script and director. As it stands, it's a decent time. Throw it on the TV at home. But someone please remake this one, because I think it could be incredible. 6 out of 10.
Thank you.
This is Agent Peters. I found Greer. He's been in an accident at Market and Hanover.
And last up is I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, recommended by Depp Strider. Yeah, that's a title. It's an interesting concept. A girl with pancreatic cancer strikes up a friendship with a boy, and both of them, at first, regard her illness with passivity. He is aloof and unsympathetic, and she appears to go about her day like nothing is wrong. I'll start with a compliment. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas has a great kick to the balls. The wind-up, the shaky cam, it's lovely. This next thing's more personal, but I can't deal with the opening songs in anime movies like this. They all sound the same to me, they're corny, and they make me twitch like mad on that skip button. Speaking of, Pancreas has almost no care or restraint when it comes to the music. Not that near constant music can't work, look at Phantom Thread. But here, it's so plain and familiar. It doesn't sound like music composed for the scene. It's more like a full song that they just plopped in. When the music shuts up, it works a lot better. The contrast between how much she is talking versus him is more dramatic. A small bit of the boy carrying the girl to bed is effective because we hear every soft footfall from him. When he says he went to the hospital after school and it cuts to him standing outside the door completely out of breath, that says more than the overdone violins ever could. By far the worst part of this movie is how it uses still frames in the montages. Not only is it lazy, but emotionally inert. Showing the characters grow closer, mentally and physically, is important. It's the whole point of the film, and this method is actively hobbling that growth. Before I get showered with a barrage of angry comments and pockies, I think the dialogue is very strong, even profound at points, and clearly comes from someone who understands human behavior. The lead girl is so brazenly honest about her condition and tells the boy everything about her life and friends, but still holds back her feelings for him. These priorities seem silly and yet so true to life. The male lead is dismissive to her illness, but that changes when he sees her medication. That illness now becomes a tangible thing in front of him. Also, I like the girl, her energy, her optimism, and how expressively she's animated and voice acted. I can't help but feel like the film is overcompensating. There's too much bloom on the animation, too much music, too many of those still frame montages, too dragged out of an ending. The dialogue and voice acting are your strong suits, Pancreas. You actually have something to say about illness and grief. How often we consider people only by our time with them, and how someone who laughs loudly to assuage you may be sobbing in private. How the people who have the most to offer the world seem to go the fastest, leaving everyone else in a desperate whirlwind of could-haves and should-haves. I was still thinking about the film the next day, which is always a good sign. Very torn, but for now, 7 out of 10. So that's another batch of fan picks for me to review. Big thanks to my Patreon members, subscribers, and you, for watching the video. I'll see you all in the stream this weekend, and as always, thanks for watching.